Hey. I actually don't know how to do multiplayer. I've never tried. Sorry about that. Hey, how's it going, man? Sorry I didn't look up. Can you hear me on the mic well? Sorry, I got like a super janky setup here. Cool. Yeah, I like this game. It's kind of soothing. I don't know. I've played it before. Actually, probably quite a lot, but I don't know. Recently, I just got back into all this stuff, and the G27 setup's pretty handy for this. So, got the full H pattern and the clutch and everything. So, I haven't tried American Truck Simulator. I've been interested in trying that out, but I figured I have this as well, and they keep adding so much to it. Like, I haven't even experimented with the mods, but just the DLC alone is pretty extensive. So I think it'd be really good if I can theoretically set up a triple monitor setup. I have 3 monitors. They're not all of the same size. They're all 1440p, but 2 of them are smaller, so like it distorts it a little. I tried it with Project Cars 2, and the GTX 1070 just can't really do it at 1440, and so I had to kind of back the 2 side ones off to 1080. Yeah, I haven't tried triple trailer yet. I still haven't fully really kind of optimized all the settings and stuff, like the force feedback and things. It's kind of loose. I probably should increase the strength, and the brakes are like super. I don't know if it's something about the G27 brakes or whatever, but in any sim, like you apply a tiny amount of pedal and it's like tons of braking. So I need to kind of optimize that at some point. But yeah, I know my friends make fun of me. Like, oh, you want to be a truck driver? Why don't you just do it in real life? Like, well, you know. But yeah, I enjoy it. How big is American Truck Simulator now? When I last looked early on when it was first coming out, all they had was like basically California and a tiny bit of Nevada. Interesting. Yeah, you know, just find me like 4 more hours in a day and I'll be game to try it out. That's the big problem these days. Not enough time. Yeah. Are there good mountains in there? When I restarted my career here a couple days ago, and I did some stuff in Switzerland and Austria, and that was really cool. Like, I find that kind of the most interesting aspect of it, you know, like having to, you know, navigate the hills and planning for all that. I still got a weak ass truck, so. That's good. I really need like a VR setup. I feel like the interior view, it's really hard to see anything on the periphery. So like a VR setup would be awesome. I've been considering picking up an HTC Vive. That's cool. We just need to get to the ultimate singularity of sims, where the train sims and the farming sims and the truck sims are all, you know, in a shared universe. Yeah. Yeah, those things are crazy. I don't know, the other thing is I do a lot of driving as it is anyways in the United States, so I figure if I'm going to do some virtual driving, might as well do it in Europe, right? Like, somewhere that I can't go. Yeah, that is the thing. The interchanges are really bizarre, and the roads are, yeah, really narrow. I think I have my field of view set at like 90, so it really makes it kind of fisheye as well, so it makes it even worse. But yeah, they feel just so narrow. And I don't know, having this wheel doesn't really help. Like, it's kind of, you know, like there's no resistance to turning or anything. But it's come a long ways. I actually got into it, I wouldn't say super early, but probably before a lot of the DLC actually started coming out many years ago, and it's advanced quite a lot. Like, it's really interesting to see all the features they've added and stuff. I mean, not all of them are necessary or get used, but, you know, it's fun to pretend. And the progression system's nice. Yeah, I think I have it turned down on the Logitech settings, so I probably need to go back in and turn that up again. I don't know, I have it on, you know, let the game set that, so maybe it's just weak. I haven't really looked into tuning the settings in here too much. I don't know if you can, or how much you can. Needed some relief from Project Cars too. It's a lot of work. I finished off the World Endurance or World Sports Car Championship again in the P2, and of course, I don't know, whoever designed that career mode is a sadist, because the last two races in that are 4-hour race at Fuji, which is fine. I didn't do the full 4 hours. I just did 1 hour this time, but I've done the full 4 hours before. I won that, but then the next one is Dubai, and it's a race into darkness. It's supposed to be 4 hours, so it starts at like twilight when it's still blazing hot out. So tire wear is a bitch, and you can't change tire pressures once you're in the race. Like, there's no way to change your pit strategies. So I had a couple, but it rains during that race, and the AI just is still monstrous in the rain. Like, they're just too fast there. So I got destroyed basically, and I had terrible tire wear, so I freaking lost it. So coming third in that championship again, twice is enough on that. I don't know, I enjoy distance. Like, longer races are much more interesting to me, and so I thought about jumping in the World Endurance Championship one, but I don't know, the P1s, there's just so much going on. I mean, you have to manage the hybrid and stuff like that, so I'd have to remap my wheel, and also I don't know how long those races are, so I'd like to try and do at least real time on some of them. I mean, obviously probably have to use the AI driver if it's like a 6-hour race or something like that for part of it, but it's just a matter of, you know, finding a time slot. SRS Junction. Yeah, the temperature transition and actually dealing with tires in the hot in Project Cars 2 is kind of like the worst thing. There needs to be a super hard compound or something like that, because the hards, even there's in the first sector at Dubai, there's this it's all basically right-handed corners, like, and the front left just got up to like 120C, and you have zero grip. So once your tires overheat in that game, it's like driving on ice. and you can't really, I mean, ideally you would, I don't know, I mean, when it gets hot, you crank the pressure up to try and, you know, cold pressure up, but there's only so much you can do until you start losing grip. So yeah, I don't know, I've struggled a lot on the hot courses like Barcelona, but at Dubai, I mean, the track is frickin', it was 60 degrees or 63 degrees C, and it dropped down to like 30 degrees C at night, so it was kind of like I needed two different compounds. The wet compound too is like an enigma. I should just sit down and figure it out. Like the other day I was testing out the GT1, and you know, I just cranked the pressure as low as it would go, see what happens, you know, and then cranked it as high as it would go, see what happens, kind of try and get a grip on it. But tire pressures are the trickiest bit in that sim, and then how you drive it. I haven't actually found that the camber really makes too much of a difference either. Like, I tried, you know, taking camber out and stuff on a lot of the setups. There's just tons of camber, so. I mean, spring softness obviously is a big one. Yeah, I'm not very good at compromising setup for tire wear. And also, to figure that out, you got to do a bunch of long runs, which, you know, it's just like, okay, let's get on with it at some point. I did that before I started streaming. I was doing a lot of GT3 with the AMG GT3, and, you know, for a 2-hour race, I'd test for like 2.5, 3 hours. It's like, okay, you know, but once you get a handle on it, you can kind of figure out what to do pretty quickly. I've gotten a lot better at setting the car up. The only thing that really still I'm a novice at is damping settings. I don't know. I've read a couple of books on race car tuning and things like that now. I understand the principles, but you just have to have a lot of patience, and it's a bit of a dark art, so. Damper settings only really get touched when there's bumps. I don't know. I find the default settings alright, but there's a frustrating lack of ability to tune some cars. Obviously it's supposed to be realistic, but like some of the gear ratios and stuff are just really kind of seem bizarre, but I think they're semi-real. Yeah, the only time I really feel like I had it cracked was the AMG GT3. There's no weight over the back because it's front engine, so a lot of the time you get like this nasty liftoff kind of oversteer. So I was able to finagle the dampers enough to, you know, keep it from to soften it to get the weight to go back, but yeah. I don't know, I find it interesting, but it's also a trying endeavor. Time consuming as well. have you been driving lately? Yeah, I don't even attempt rally suspension yet. What's RBR? Sorry, I'm spacing here. Oh, Richard Burns rally, that's right. Yeah, I haven't been doing too much rally. I got dirt rally I need to dig into at some point. Just need more time in the day. Yeah, I know. I was a graduate student, so for the past 6 years I haven't had any time. I just finished, so still got a few things to do, but kind of been taking it easy, and it's given me some time to get back into it, but we'll see how long it lasts. I gotta find a new job. Jumped into Forza Horizon 3 as well recently, just because I kind of needed an arcade. I haven't done any. I've been thinking about it. It's a bit of a time commitment, like every day, yeah, or every week at the same time isn't necessarily conducive to my schedule, but I've been considering it. I wasn't sure I would be competitive at first, but I think I would be, at this point at least, but it's just, getting started is the biggest trial, and then staying with it. I mainly do, single player stuff just because you can jump in whenever you're ready and don't have to wait around, don't have to organize anything, just on my schedule. But I looked at the Apex Online League, or AOL, or AOR, whatever they are. What time are you, like, what time zone are you in? I'm in the Pacific time zone, so I tend to have time during the day, unfortunately. Once the girlfriend comes home, it's not much time, but I could probably do evenings Pacific as well. Central. Mainly race in the evening, or yeah, I'd be down to maybe try once a week or something like that. Like a Tuesday or a Wednesday or something like that. The holidays, though, I don't know. My schedule's gonna be crazy. Gotta go back home, see the family, so not sure when I'll be on. I'll probably bring my shit, but yeah, I'd be down for that. I mean, just set up some races with some AI as well. 20 minutes, something like that. Yeah, unfortunately this evening I got some stuff to do. I gotta go into work and set some stuff up, but I don't know, maybe I'll be around. You know, if you're online, I'll hit you up, but could maybe try tomorrow night. Trying to find something new to race too. That's why I was testing out the GT1. I don't know. The GT1 field seems like there's a big spread in the balance of performance though. Like, it's clear that the Porsche is not on par with the Panos and the CLK GT1. I think P3 might be interesting. Some downforce, but not quite as 10s. P2 was nice as well. I don't know if you're big on downforce cars. GT3 is... I've been there, done that a little bit, so... But I'm down for whatever. I'll give it a try. Cool. Sounds like a plan. Hey man, how's it going? Yeah, I haven't touched the Nordschleife yet. I did a lot of that, you know, back in the day, but it's such a specialized circuit that, I mean, GT3 cars run well around there. I'm pretty good, man. Just trying to chill out today. I made the mistake of streaming Forza Horizon 3 yesterday and got the 12-year-olds yelling at me to make a drift car or something like that. It's like I just want to chill out and cruise around in my Lancia Delta S4, but I don't even know what that is. Yeah, Mystics. The Nordschleife is nice, except I run with damage on, so one little cock up and you're back to square one. That's the problem with it. It requires full concentration. It's a good test of a car, though. I have no idea how to set a car up for it, though. It's got such a mix of everything. Yeah, I've really been liking Forza Horizon. It's just kind of a nice homage to cars in general. Yeah. Yeah. That was back in the day, man. Oh, did you have a G25? I had a G25 running Gran Turismo 4. Endurance, what do you, you run mainly Gran Turismo Sport, right? I've been seeing you on there. do you like it? I don't have a PS4, so I'm not ever gonna touch it, but it looks beautiful. Yeah, I switched over to PC many years ago, and I've given up on consoles. It's just not for me. It's convenient, but I like the ability to push the hardware and stuff. And, yeah, that's what happened with my PS3. I had Gran Turismo 5 on there, and it just sat there. I mean, PS4 is of the consoles, I think it's probably the one I would get from a technical side, but yeah, no, totally. PS2, man. Gran Turismo 3. Nice. I never had a PS1, so I actually got in the PS2 pretty late as well. I'm 30 now. wish I was still in my 20s. I got a PS2 really, really late, so... Played the hell out of GT3 though. And the GT4. How's the endurance racing in GT Sport? Endurance. Maybe he's gone. Yeah, I don't know. Gran Turismo had its ups and downs. I think its days are numbered, though. Just took too long to come out with anything recently. Yeah, for sure, man. Stop by. talk. Hey man. Hey, I saw your comment. What car were you looking for a setup for? Hey, can you hear me? Hey, camera. Can you hear me? Oh, yeah, no worries. What car were you looking for setup for? Ah, perfect. Yeah, I can try and give it a go at some point. I don't actually, I've never driven the Brannock Ray track, so it'll take me a little while to figure that out, but yeah, I can give it a go. I found that the main thing with the GT1 from the little time that I spent with it was it felt like it had a lot of like slow speed understeer, so softening up the front springs helped a bit on low speed turns. Like I said, I've never driven there, so I don't know what it really requires in terms of it's a downforce setup or a mechanical track. Yeah, man. Project Cars 2 it's really nice. The downforce cars can be a little tricky though. High horsepower cars too. What kind of wheel are you running? A steering wheel? Oh, nice. It's got the little old G27, so you got better gear than me. Yeah, I've been looking at those. I hear they're pretty nice. Equipment is only part of it, yeah. Be nice to be able to feel things a little better. The force feedback on this is kind of so-so. Drive the GT1 cars a lot, or what do you normally drive? Yeah. Yeah, that setup I had for Donington probably won't be good for many other courses. I had to go super low downforce, so I wouldn't use that in a race for sure. I would crank on probably more rear wing. Oh, nice. You done any sim racing before? Or it's your first foray into it. Ah, it's a good place to start. Takes quite a while. If you're really interested in like building your skills, the car I would really suggest for you is the like one of the GT4 cars, like the KTM Crossbow GT4. Just because it doesn't have a ton of power, so it'll help you develop racing line better. Because when you have no power, you have to be very, very smooth and maintain as much speed as possible through all the corners. So for someone who's just starting out, I would suggest like the GT4 Crossbow, or like the Cayman GT4. I haven't really driven the Cayman. I've only driven the Crossbow so far. But GT1 cars are monsters. They got a lot of power, so it's really easy to lose the rear end. Yes and no. I mean, I would stay away from really long tracks just because you won't be able to learn them as quickly. So, like, things like Le Mans. Le Mans is very specialized, like a super low downforce track. It's probably not going to teach you much. I mean, tracks like Barcelona is a good place. It's got a little bit of everything. It's got high speed, it's got low speed. That's why everybody tests there as well. I really like some of the shorter tracks. I really like the British tracks a lot, like Donington. I really enjoy, and what's the other one? I'm spacing, but not Alton Park, but Brands Hatch I really like. I mean, any of those. I would say just something shorter where you can do a lot of laps. So if you make a mistake, it's not like 5 minutes. Like if you're trying to do it on the Nordschleife, you're gonna have a really bad time because you won't come back to that same corner for another 8 minutes or something like that, 10 minutes. So something with a relatively shorter lap time can be really handy when you're first starting out. And something that's not too bumpy either, or like crazy. I like Zolder a lot. Zolder's a really fun circuit. It's got a pretty good mix of fast and slow speed corners as well. But really the thing is just, turning a lot of laps and making a lot of mistakes. The one thing I also recommend to people who are new is the biggest, like most important part in racing is braking. So like figuring out a braking point, really look to the side of the track for braking boards. Like, you know, like with a GT car around the 100-meter board, you have to be on the brakes. So like picking a braking spot and then trying to get that every lap is really kind of one of the important skills that you need to learn. Oh, I don't know. I don't know too much about those. Like I said, I just got a G27, man, so like, if you got shit tons of cash to throw around, sure, but I would say figure out how to drive on your setup and then, you know, upgrade if you are really into it. But I wouldn't throw away a ton of money to do that. You know, if you're just starting out, it may or may not help you, but I don't know. I can't give you any advice on that. Like I said, all I got is the G27, so. I think being quick is pretty much like, you can be quick on any setup, pretty much. It's just a matter of learning, you know, what you need to do, and then figuring out what the inputs are telling you and things like that. Like if you have no feedback on the braking, that's tricky, but you can listen to it. Even with ABS, if you hear the ABS kick in, like you know, like it's locking up slightly, then you need to back off the brakes and things like that. I turned the brake pressure down on my for my rig just because the G27, I feel like, you know, the brakes are really heavy for everything, but on most cars I run around like 89% brake pressure. But I don't think you need to you know, go crazy early on. Yeah, no worries, man. Yeah, if you put up videos, I'll try and have a look at them. I don't know if you're posting much or not, but just keep at it. It's a it's a learning process. Probably been doing it off and on for probably 14 or 15 years now, so I have a bit of experience. Like I said, off and on, probably 15 years. I don't know. I really probably first got into it with Gran Turismo 3 back on the PS2. I wouldn't say I'm that good. I've never raced online or raced against anybody, so. You can pick it up pretty quick, I mean, but yeah, I watch a lot of racing too, and yeah. It just takes a while to figure out what the car's gonna do, but once you do, it all makes sense eventually. Yeah, it's can be tricky. I've been thinking about doing some videos on it. I would say it's important for extracting the last little bit of potential out of the car, but really the most important thing is just learning how to drive, you know, the racing line well and things like that. Even with a pretty crappy tune, you can get a lot of it out just out of the racing line. You know, a lot of speed comes that way. So figuring out, you know, which corners, you know, really to focus on, things like that, is probably more important, to be honest. I really didn't start getting into tuning cars and setups and stuff until just recently. And I don't know, I read a couple of books. Well, I skimmed some books on it, but sorry, which settings? Oh, like the racing line. I don't run with it just because. I mean, it could be helpful if. I mean, do you watch a lot of racing? Do you understand the principle of like the racing line and you know, apexes and stuff like that? I've never tested the racing line in Project Cars 2, so I can't tell you how accurate it is. If you like look at the track, you can generally see kind of a rubber line and stuff. It's pretty good. I don't always find it to be the quickest line, so you might give it a go for a couple laps, but it's probably more important to yeah, I mean, you might give it a try just, you know, to kind of help out. I wouldn't rely on it though. What I would do is, you know, like pick a track, you know, kind of figure it out, and, you know, after 10 laps, then start really experimenting with, okay, if I brake here, I can turn it at this point, and then I hit the apex, and, you know, can carry it out wide, things like that. That can be pretty helpful, but you don't want to come to rely on it too much, just because then, you know, it might be wrong, and there might be a quicker way. But I mean, watching other people as well, figuring out, how, you know, their onboard laps and stuff like that can be really helpful. Might try it out when you're first learning a track, but after about 10 laps or 15 laps, I would really turn it off, just, you know, to kind of not be reliant on it. I've never turned it on just because I either knew the track already or you know, I just like to figure it out myself. It's pretty self-evident after a while. Well, not always. But you can also download the ghost laps of people in the time trials and figure out, you know, what they're doing. That can be helpful as well. Like, I've done it a couple times. I just can't figure out where people are getting the time. So, you know, you just watch their lap. Oh, they're able to clip this corner a bit and stuff like that. Like I said, I think if you start with like a GT4 car, something with not too much power, it'll you can really work on the racing line there, and then you don't have to worry about throttle control quite as much, and then build your way up. Because that's the next step. The first part's braking, and then the next part's, you know, throttle and holding it. And how much throttle to use in the middle of the corner and stuff like that. But you really need to know the racing line first, and then you can start adding that in. So yeah, give it a go. Hopefully it all... But it'll take time. Just be patient. Yeah, and I wouldn't worry about tuning too much right away. I'll maybe do one for the KTM or something like that, just to... I haven't driven it for a little while, so... but the main thing with it is that, you know, it's a pretty solid platform. It's got good grip, not too much power, and yeah, just have fun with it. Hey, man. It's good. Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't worry about, you know, other people's times, trying to beat other people. When I started out, there were no online leaderboards or anything, so I never knew how fast anybody else was going. So it was just me against myself, and all you got to do is try and beat yourself. It's a little bit easier that way. Yes and no. I mean, it's nice to know where you compare at some point, but I wouldn't worry too much about it. Just starting out, expects you to be perfect. I think as long as you're happy with your abilities and you're improving, and you're having fun, whatever, man. Yeah. When done right, it's obvious. It's obvious what you need to do. It's just the implementation of it. Yeah, or like archery or something like that, some like precision sport. Just trying to get that little extra bit. Yeah, I'll throw up some of the cross. I'll do some laps in the crossbow at some point as well, and at different circuits. And if I feel that the car needs to be tuned, I can help you out with that. But like I said, it's kind of that. It's important for that last little bit, or for it to feel right to you. But like I like a particular car setup, stuff like that. So, but learning how to drive around a car is also important. Learning where its limits are. Only then can you start to try and tweak it to really make it different. Most of the base setups in the game aren't too bad either, I have to say. Like, there are very few that I find undrivable. What's up, man? Just talking with camera here. He just got Project Cars first sim. Started 4 days ago. Yeah, I suggested something like the KTM Crossbow GT4. It's probably a good place to start. He said he tried out the Porsche GT1, and it was giving him trouble. I figure it's probably not the best starting car, personally. I didn't find it to be particularly user-friendly either. Mist X, have you turned the driving line on at all in Project Cars? I haven't actually turned it on ever. I was curious if it's accurate. Oh yeah, the 86 GT4 would be pretty good as well too. I think something low horsepower, good grip. Yeah, I'm curious as to how accurate it is, because like I know the AI takes like a really weird lines through turns like 2 and 3 in Barcelona and stuff like that. So I'm curious if it's very accurate or not, but my thought was, you know, give it a go. 10 or so laps once you learn it. Start experimenting. Hey man, how you doing? Yep. I personally wouldn't worry about setup really at all for if you're just starting out. You're gonna gain the least amount of time there. How are you, William? Yeah, I know. I wasn't paying attention. Too busy talking and driving. This stuff's pretty cool. I figured that I've been trying to head up north here because I figured the bridges would be awesome. I told him it was better back in the day. There were no online leaderboards. Never knew how slow I was on Gran Turismo 3 because I couldn't compare myself to anybody. Nice. Actually, a really good YouTube channel to check out is what is it? It's like called Safe Fast or something like that. I can find it here. It's wrong keyboard. That channel is actually really good. I highly recommend it. Yeah, consistency is it takes a while. I think focus on the braking first. Braking boards, that's the biggest area that I improved in. Yeah, I really like that channel. It's got things about like tuning. I mean, it's set up for like real race car drivers, so there's like stuff it might not be applicable, but it's all really good stuff. There's, you know, it'll tell you at least what each, you know, kind of setting does, and in a pretty brief manner. But it has things about racing line and stuff like that, overtaking. Yeah, it was really good. I like that one. There was a guy who did a bunch of Project Cars 1 tuning videos that was also really pretty good. I can't remember his name off the top of my head. But, like I said, tuning is... It only helps once you've kind of maximized the potential of the car currently. It's very easy to completely screw up the handling of a car as well if you don't have a good idea of what you're doing. Excellent. It's good to know about like downforce and anti-roll bars and stuff like that. They're kind of little adjustments, but the big thing in Project Cars is the tire model is quite good. So like tire temperature is really important. So the first couple of laps, if you're like in a practice session and you come out on cold tires, like you have zero grip until they warm up, and understanding that side of it, like you don't have to necessarily tweak the settings, but understanding that, you know, it makes a difference, or like aero balance versus mechanical grip, things like that. Yeah, I know. If you go on the wrong tire compound, like sometimes I'll leave it on choose by weather or whatever, and the game knows it's gonna rain, so it puts me on wets and it's dry, and you're just like, what the hell? You know, like, why do I have zero grip here? Oh, toe. I stay away from too much toe. It has to do with how the wheels are pointed relative to each other. So if you imagine like your toes, basically, like toe in is like this and toe out is like that. So on the back, you want a little bit, here's my camera, you want a little bit of toe out that makes it stable. Or sorry, you want a little bit of toe in because that makes it stable, but a little bit of toe out on the front to make it, but I don't really touch the toe angle too much. A little goes a long way, but you end up getting a lot of tire wear if you put too much on either way. So I tend to take a little bit of rear toe out just so they're more straight, but you lose a little bit of stability. Like I said, I actually I found a book on race car tuning and read it. Like I said, most of the base setups are fine. I wouldn't worry about tweaking it. Yeah, for sure. Just gonna make it like feel different as well, you know, like how twitchy the car will be. If you're like really good at reacting to oversteer, you can have a super twitchy car. But I wouldn't worry about any of that, to be honest. I never got into it until just recently. Like, when you're running, I would say when you're like in the top 40 to 30% of like time trial times, that's when you need to start tuning to gain that little bit extra. But other than that, yeah. Yeah, it can be handy to not have a bunch of other cars out there. But racing every once in a while is, I don't know. I haven't done too much online racing, to be honest, just because I don't necessarily want to spend the time waiting around in a lobby for somebody to. The online races, it kind of sucks because like whoever sets it up they'll just pick, you know, oh, you're going to use this car. It's like, well, I've never driven that car, but they're a master at it, so it's kind of less than ideal place to really test your skills as well. Or they pick like crazy ass weather where it like rains and then it's dry and then it rains and it dries all in like 2 minutes. And it's just like, why even bother at this point? Yeah, you should add us on Steam, man. Jesus Christ. I think mine's just BioBen. What's your Steam username, Cameron? Yeah, you'll have to add me. I don't know. I can't figure it out. Sorry, man. Yeah, man. Sorry I couldn't find you, but yeah, took out some loans, you know. That's the problem with this game, though. It's you can easily take out a loan, and then you always know you can get work to pay it off. So there's no risk. No worry. No worries, man. We'll figure it out. Oh, there we go. Yeah, I got it. 1 sec. I think you just had your privacy setting on not discoverable, so. Yeah. Yeah, if you just add Mr. X too, he'll be able to get it when he gets home. Drive trucks. Nice. It's just a virtual hobby for me. Although I do if I could just throw it all away, be a long haul truck driver. I do enjoy the long distance drive every once in a while, but as a career, I don't know. Not the most lucrative, probably. Although I suppose if you're a very specialized hauler, you probably make really good money. For sure. It's kind of a not conducive to family. Are you in Europe or United States, camera? Ah, yeah. You need American Truck Simulator then. Sorry, Missed X, the what? Mega Art? Oh, your setup. Yeah, I know. I need a wheel stand. I don't know. The problem is I live in a one-bedroom apartment, so my girlfriend and I are already running out of space as it is. So having a permanent setup is kind of off the table for a while. So it's the G27's nice because take it down and set it up real quick. So I just take it down every night and have a little extra space, put it in the box. Yeah, I've been looking at those. The other problem is that like I don't Sorry. I realized that I had that paused the whole time. That was my bad. Okay, what time is it? I just run the G27 pedals on the ground. Fucking A. Yeah, man. It's got the carpet grabber and everything. It's probably not the best angle, but it works. Yeah, I kept tabbing out, so I paused it just so I didn't have to show my desktop and shit. Thought I had it unpaused, but I didn't. driven in Project Cars 1. I drove the 98 turbo. That thing was freaking insane. The boost is just freaking it's a monster. But I haven't driven the other ones. I've been meaning to. Are they any good? Like, is it enjoyable? Yeah, I know. Like, and I drove it with the H pattern as well, which was like, that's the other problem is my pedals, I have them set up for left foot braking right now, so if I want to heel and toe, I have to move the brake pedal over. Yeah, it was awesome to drive, but it's just one of those, like, you have to be ready for it. There's just so much to do. Like, you have to be ready for the boost at all times, and like short shifting just, and it was really unstable. If you didn't heel and toe, the back end would just go flying out, so it was a lot of work. Also, the problem with racing it against the AI is they don't miss shifts or anything like that, so it was very difficult to be competitive. But it gives you an amazing appreciation for people who drove that. Also, the problem was is when you crank, at least in Project Cars 1, when you cranked the boost up, the engine didn't last very long. If you cranked it up to like 6 bar or whatever it was capable of, you could get maybe like 10 laps out of it. So you had to. I used to run with the Project Cars profiler up on my second monitor. I can't do that anymore because when I stream, camera and stuff doesn't like it, so like I'd have to sit there and do a couple laps and monitor the engine wear and figure out, okay, this is a 10 lap race, I can run it at this boost pressure or it's gonna blow up. So it was quite a bit of work, actually. I highly recommend trying it. I don't believe that it's per se, like, it's not an enjoyable experience at first, but when you get in the groove, you just like banging gears, you know, you feel like a driving god, basically. But if I was trying to do something to relax, I don't think that's what I would do personally. Yeah. It's a bit tough on the sim rig because you can't feel the clutch bite point. that's one of the problems that I've had with the clutch there, is you can't feel exactly where you are. But yeah, I mean, I used to have a manual car, so it's like I've done it, but it's a lot of work. That car's an experience, though. I think you should give it a try. I wouldn't make it your daily driver, though. Let's just say that. Yeah, I mean, it's really important for a racing car because, like, especially with the differential settings it had, it was like a must. Otherwise, the way the gearing was, if you banged it like down a gear, it would just kick the rear end out because it had too much speed. So, oh yeah, no, I didn't even attempt that. I think the best, actually, one of my favorite tracks is Osserschleben. That's a really good one, like, to learn on as well. It's got good mix of high speed and low speed, and it's a real short lap, so you can do a lot of laps quickly. But I drove the 98T around Osserschleben, and man, that was a workout. Like, there's so much going on, but it feels amazing when you get it. You have to be super careful with it, though. Like, throttle, you can see there's a big gauge on it, and it's just the boost pressure gauge, and when it gets to a certain point, you know that if you push the throttle anymore, the back end is going to go out. So, like, it was really a pretty impressive thing. And there's a big red light as well that comes on when the boost kicks in. I like that part. It was like the oh shit meter, like, here it comes. But yeah, you'll basically never be on full throttle. I don't think it has any traction control either. I don't think they had traction control at that point, so it's like all your right foot basically. Yeah, I would start out with the boost pressure. So like I said, I only drove it in Project Cars 1, but like boost pressure around 3 is drivable. Once you get like 4 is probably, you could race it at that. Like 5, I'd crank it up to like 5 in qualifying, but like if you take it to the max, the engine lasts 1 or 2 laps. So start with moderate boost pressure. I've been meaning to drive some of the like really older ones, but just at the time. don't know how well it would go around the Nordschleife, to be honest. I don't think they were running F1. Yeah. The only problem with it around the Nordschleife is it might be too low slung. Yeah, I forget what the ride height settings were, but I think they stopped running the Nordschleife in like 70 something, so it's probably never gone around there in real life. I don't know. It's tough. I haven't driven everything, to be honest. I haven't even driven the P1s yet. I really enjoyed the P2. The Ligier P2. That thing was pretty sweet. Like, the GT3 cars, I've driven the SLS and the 488. The SLS, once I got it tuned right, I liked it. I don't think it's super fast though. I think they redid the base tune on it as well with the new patch. It was really tail happy early on. Like, it had a ton of problems with liftoff oversteer, but it sounds really good, and I got a pretty good balance on it. But I think the Ligier P2 has been my favorite so far. But I still have to drive the P1s. I just haven't been able to commit to that yet. I think they'll be pretty intense as well. I haven't driven the F1 cars or anything like that yet either. The 488 was nice. I think it's faster for sure than the AMG, but I never felt solid in it. Like, the rear end moves around a ton in that car, and I don't know. I just didn't love it ever. Yeah, I've seen it. I haven't driven it. Actually, I really liked the Super Trofeo Lamborghini as well. Once you got into it, it was pretty fun. It took a little while. The stock setting was like super understeery, and I never quite cured all that. So, but that around Watkins Glen was really fun. I had a really good race there. What other cars did I drive? I've only really done the career that led up to the World Sports Car. So I guess I drove the Ginetta Juniors and stuff like that. I mean, the GT4 Crossbow was nice. It was very nice to drive, but the problem with it was didn't have a good gearing for it. So it's only got an inline 4, so it doesn't have a ton of power. But before the new patch, you couldn't shorten the gear ratio, so you never got into 6th gear. So it was basically like, it didn't have proper gear ratio for what it needed. So I think they changed that though. That was a really nice car to drive. It had good grip. But yeah, I think the Ligier has been, you know, you don't have to do much to it either. It's basically all I did was tune the downforce on it, and it was set up pretty well otherwise. The P3, I've driven the P3 cars once or twice as well. They're fun too. I haven't really driven any of the touring cars or anything. I think I did one rallycross thing too, and I don't know. It was fun, but slippery surfaces are not necessarily my forte. I just didn't have time. LMP P2, but the P3 LMP3 car, yeah, I've driven those as well. Those are a stock a stock engine basically. Yeah, I thought it was good. It's just, you know, it's like, okay, I have to completely reshift my style of driving, and I had to set up the, I set my H pattern shifter to have like a 4th gear be the handbrake, because I needed a handbrake for that. The LMP2 and the LMP3 are very close. The P3 is basically just a slightly slower, more affordable version, so. But that's not a bad idea, actually. Yeah, I put it on 4th gear, so I'd pop it down and then pop it out. It wasn't ideal, but it worked. I'm not as big a fan of rallycross as I am of pure rally, to be honest. Like, I don't really enjoy racing with other cars in rally. Like, becomes a bit of a bump fest. I'm more of a stage rally kind of person, so... Said, I don't know. Rally requires a different kind of mindset. I could, you know, you just gotta get into it. Oh, I was just saying Rally Cross in particular I'm not as much of a fan of because it's there's other cars on the track with you, whereas in stage rally racing, like it's just you against the clock, which I prefer for that. In terms of on tarmac, yeah, I like racing against other people. But I need to try some online racing at some point, but... Thanks, man. When I picked up Project Cars, I really worked on trying to get faster. I mean, like really into the technical aspects of racing. That's where I started getting into setup and stuff like that. But really, I mean, the biggest thing is, that's part of it, but the biggest thing for me was braking. I had to figure out braking zones and stuff like that. That's where you build consistency, is, you know, just finding your braking board every time, hitting it, same amount of brake pressure, yada yada. That's been the biggest improvement in speed, I think. Yeah, I gotta look into that. There was a league I was interested in, the AOR or whatever, Apex Online Racing or whatever. I think they're one of the main people that are running a league in Project Cars. They're in Europe though, so they run like Wednesdays at like 8 European time, which is noon for me on the West Coast. So I don't know if I'm if I don't have a job still. We'll see, but yeah, I know. That's why I've been doing more time trials. Been trying to pick some of those off just to see where I'm at. It's been nice. I've actually pretty consistently can get in the top. If there's a lot of cars, I can probably get in the top 20 with moderate effort. Generally can tweak it up there. There's some of them that, like, I'm not willing to spend more than an hour, really. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, if we could get some people together, I'd be down for it. I don't know, if you're around tomorrow afternoon, maybe we can set something up. I gotta jump off here after this load. Ah, you tried it. I mean, it's a pretty stable car. It's got good grip. It's just, you can't go near the throttle, basically, so, yeah. Oh yeah, that thing is beastly. Yeah, I completely agree. It's what freaking Formula One should be. Yeah, it doesn't get much better than once you figure out where the boost is going to come in, you can kind of slowly apply it, and then you get the little, you know, fishtail down the road, and then it grips, and then you just get this massive bang of power. It's fast. But it's a different driving style for sure. It's a more old school driving style. It's more point and squirt, like come out of the corner, straighten it up, and then hammer it down. Thanks, man. It's what I've been working towards, but I kind of started this whole thing as just a little experiment, just to see. I figured I was doing it anyways, I might as well give it a try, so. I'm pretty pleased with my consistency. Say that. There's a lot of behind the scenes testing that not everybody has seen for some of those races, but yeah, some of the time. The next area that I need to work on is driving in the rain. That's still a... It's just the unknown aspect of it, like, I need to do... Basically, I need to test it more just to figure out where the grip is and stuff. I did do... part of the World Sports Car career thing is Austria, and doing 2 hours in the rain there, that sure taught me quite a bit, though. The dynamic puddles and stuff like that is interesting. You basically have zero grip when you go through them, though. Like, they start to grow, and then it's just, if you try and drive through it, it's game over. Yeah, well, I spun several times. It's on my channel, actually. It wasn't a clean race, per se, but I spun a couple times. I did it again in the P2. That was a better race, actually. The worst was the 4 hours, freaking 4 hours of Fuji. I about killed myself through that. Fuji's boring as hell, so... I did that in the AMG. I couldn't bring myself to do 4 more hours of Fuji in the P2. I only did an hour there, and that was about enough. Yeah, I think that's about my limit. I tried doing the 4 hours at Dubai, but it rained, and then it was like game over, because the AI is too strong in the rain. Also, my setup was shit there. The tires didn't work. It didn't, it's surprising, it didn't take that long to to get used to driving the longer distance though. So when I picked up Project Cars 1, I was going through the career, and the GT races there were, it was like 30 minutes and then a 50-minute race. I could barely get through those, but I don't know. Just a little practice, a little patience and consistency, and I think I can do about an hour now, no problem. Pretty much mistake-free. My biggest problem is that I had to come to a stable lap time and stop. My problem was I kept driving at like a time trial, and I'd always try and see, hey, can I brake later here? Can I maybe go, you know, a bit, cut this corner a bit more? So then I would spin a lot. But once I kind of realized you can't do that in a 2-hour or 1-hour race, then it helped a lot. And then, you know, I picked a solid braking point and would brake there every time, and that really kind of helps a ton with the consistency. That tends to be where you lose it, is under braking. Depends. I mean, well, it depends on who you're racing. If you're inherently faster than them by like a large margin, nope. But if you're about the same pace, then yeah. It all depends. I mean, with the AI, they're very consistent, so they don't make too many mistakes. So the only way I tend to beat them is under braking. They tend to brake way too early, so that's where you can generally overtake. But otherwise, they're a pretty consistent pace. So with humans, mistakes help. So being consistent is generally the best way to go, even if you're a little bit slower. I mean, losing 5 seconds because you spin, or 10 seconds because you spin, is like, I mean, you could be slower than them by a second a lap for 10 laps, basically. Yes and no. There's various strategies you can use, like, you know, you can dive up the inside braking. You could go deeper in the braking than you normally would, and, you know, block them afterwards, basically, or, you know. Or some cars, I mean, if the setups are different, if people don't have the same setups, people will be faster in different areas than other people, so. It's a bit of a mixed bag in terms of It also depends if you race with damage or not. That definitely changes the overtaking strategies. I tend to race with full damage, so it's like really brutal. If you bump into anybody, you lose front end downforce and you're basically screwed, and you lose straight line speed too. Like even 5 points of downforce or whatever percentage, then so like I tend to be very cautious overtaking because of that. So like the cleanest overtake, or like the only kind of banging I can withstand is like direct side-to-side contact, basically. Otherwise, it's painful. That was another thing I had to train out of myself, is not be so aggressive. Be a little more patient. So yeah. If you race touring cars, you can probably bump and bang a lot more, though. That's like par for the course of touring cars. Before the most recent patch as well, there was a big problem with rallycross too. You just bang into each other, basically. There was a really big problem though with when you get like front end damage, it would basically either damage the, essentially it would damage the radiator, and several times, like my temperatures just skyrocketed like over 120 C. Like the engine was gonna blow if I didn't hit. They tuned that down actually in the most recent patch, which is good, but you can still lose some engine performance because of that loss of radiator cooling, which is right. Should we do a little Project Cars? All right, I'll join up. What are we driving?